Hi. Yeah, all three of them are in there. Oh. Yeah, Amara has a bit of the snuffles, so got to give her some antibiotics. Hey, you guys. They love towers like this.
Yeah.
They sort of.
You built that, right?
Mm-hmm. Really tight spaces. They love tight spaces.
There was this company that used to make them, but they went out of business.
Uh-huh. Really?
Yeah, there was a company that made wood toys for mice. It was about 15 years ago.
Hmm.
I forgot what they were called. Oh, Wonderland.
Oh.
They were from the UK.
Huh. The best rodent stuff comes from Europe.
Yeah.
Oh boy, these two are so adorable today. Hey, you two. And Midas has to go join his girls. Hi.
So you wait till they're 36 grams to neuter them?
Usually, because then I know they're big enough.
Yeah.
Because if they're not big enough, then quite often they need a second surgery because they only can find one.
Oh.
Because they pull them into their body cavity.
Right, right.
And the younger they are, the less easy it is to push them back out. Like Toby needed 2 surgeries, and I had a few other mice that needed 2. And then I realized I just have to wait a little longer.
So I might have to separate him for a little while from
Yeah, because otherwise you'll have 2 litters back to back.
Is it Jasmine?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jasmine.
Jazzy.
Or Snow or whoever.
You'll probably get Jasmine because she's such an awesome mouse. You'll really like her. These two.
Percy will hopefully tell her that the jiggling there's nothing to worry about.
Yep. She's pretty chill. I think she'll be alright. Depends how quickly you can get him neutered, because if you get him neutered as soon as you get home, then it'll be like a week or 2 and then she'll have her babies.
Right, I can try, but I mean,
yeah.
he's pretty small.
He's a bit, yeah, he's a little small. Yeah, they might have to actually be separate for a while. You can always ask your vet. Just I've had that past experience. Oh, hello. This little guy. You want to come out too? Oh, my little guy. No, let's be his girls. I think this little guy's going to make a great dad. It's the second time that she's escaped from the other cage and gone all the way over here to be with him.
That's adorable.
Yeah. I really kind of like Frost. She's very pretty. But these two are, like, these two are the most bonded. And I find with my males, they usually choose one female. That's their main female. Like Midas has Amara. He likes Faye too, but Amara's his girl. And most of my males are like that. They choose one that they're really bonded to. She's certainly chosen him.
Yeah, right.
So maybe you'll take her home instead. I don't know. I like Frost.
It's totally up to you.
Because black-eyed whites are one of my favorites.
Yeah.
They're so pretty. She's not totally white. She's a little off-white, like her dad. Her dad's Apollo.
Kind of like him.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So they got a high probability that they might have a Siamese mouse. But then I don't really know the genetics, so who knows? I'm just guessing.
Well, they'll probably be whitish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. So adorable. He's a very happy little guy.
He is. He has a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some character to him.
He does. But he's good-natured. He's very good with his girls. Midas is a handful with the girls, and this guy was really good. Midas doesn't like most girls. He only likes his 2. Any other female you put him with, he'll chase around, bite their butts. Lots of squeaking.
Hopefully, some of his sons will have the same.
I'm going to keep at least one of his sons for. I want to breed twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall, because the females you don't want them to be too old for breeding. And I'll keep one of his sons at least. Maybe 2. He's very confident. He's just got lots of energy.
He does.
And he's independent.
It's hard to film them when they're that fast and young.
Yep.
What are you doing?
It's even harder to photograph them. It's actually easier to film than to photograph. Even though if he was on the floor, he'd be everywhere and he'd be hard to follow.
Right. So when I was very first photographing mice, I had this little cheap elf camera. It didn't do the job. So I walked into the camera store and I said, I need a DLSR that can shoot a brown mouse in a brown field in the middle of the night.
Uh-oh.
And they said there's only one, and it was the 5D Mark II at the time. $10,000 later, right?
Oh.
But it did it. It did it. I had this mouse, Percival. Actually, the same Percival who's in my stories. And he was very fond of coming out and doing crazy human-like things before I could get my camera ready. And then he'd run away. But he would like eat food with one hand. He'd stand up and eat food. He did weird stuff that mice don't usually do. And finally, one day I came home with the 5D Mark II and I just had it sitting on my lap. And he came, sure enough, he comes to the food bowl on my bed, because they play on my bed. And he starts doing his antics, smiling and chewing and standing up. And I literally just pointed it and pressed the trigger. And it was like 8 frames a second. So it made this machine gun noise. And I got pictures of Percival going and then vanishing, like just like, and then like 16 shots and then the tail at the end of it. But he was making a face. He was making a face like, oh, what's that? And I got him, and he knew I got him too. He had a little bit of a snit after that.
He's beautiful.
He's a handsome boy.
I was hoping that I could keep him, but I understand.
If I weren't so attached, I would totally let you. I thought about it. I mean, he would be well off here. He would have a good life here.
But I'll have his sons.
Yep, you'll have all his kids,
Yeah.
and they'll be much tamer raised by you from birth.
Especially the ones that come from Faye, because Faye's so friendly. There'll be a whole bunch more Midases.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. When you raise them from birth and you handle them, I've only done that once, and it was Kippy. He was I had to raise him by hand like you did with Stuart with the milk. So how often do you hold them, like each one?
What I do is twice a day.
Twice a day?
And usually you get the whole litter in your hand. And when they're very young, you only hold them for a few minutes.
Okay.
And close to nest. And then as they get older, you can hold them for longer and maybe a little more often. And then when they're teenagers, you have to spend extra time with them because they go through this flighty phase.
Right, the popcorn.
Yeah. That's why Midas is so tame, is because he went to a 13-year-old who handled him tons when he was a teenager. But then it varies with temperament too, because when I did the science fair project with my intern, we handled 10 little babies, like equal amounts, and we had to handle them because we had to weigh them. And only about half of them became super, super tame. So it's genetic too.
Yeah.
And that's when I first realized, hey, this is really, because I ended up with like Faye and Amara and Pax, super, super friendly.
Yeah.
So then I realized, hey, this early handling, that's the trick.
It is. It definitely is.
And genetics, you have to, like, Isa, her babies were much more flighty than Hope's, because Hope is naturally less flighty. No, Pax came out of ISA, and he was super friendly. And their dad was Oliver, and Oliver actually had, he was actually quite a friendly little guy.
He's just not afraid of going anywhere.
No, he's pretty chill.
This is how he would play in the car.
Mm-hmm. It's weird that when you first came, he was nervous, and now he's not nervous at all. It's like it took him a while to remember.
Yeah.
Because I notice when you have them in family groups and you take one away for a while, if they're away for like a day, maybe 2 days, they don't have to fight or have a pecking order thing. But if they're away any longer, then you have
Right.
a lot of fighting and stuff. And I can't believe they forget. It's just they have to reestablish who's boss.
He knows how I feel about him. I know he does.
Mm-hmm.
He got it right away.
Yep. Animals can sense that sort of stuff.
Happy always knew that he was the boss of me. I told you the story about the dinner plate, right?
No.
Yeah, so I would make sloppy joes.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved the sloppy joes. He loved nothing more than the sloppy joes. So even though I would make him his own sloppy joe
Mm-hmm.
with the toasted bun and the whole bit and set it over for him, bigger than any mouse could ever eat.
Uh-huh.
You know, he wanted mine.
Uh-huh.
So I would tell him, okay, you can have mine, but no mouse butt on my plate.
Uh-huh.
And he knew every word I was saying. He knew exactly what I meant. So he'd come over and he'd sit his mouse butt on my plate and eat my sloppy joe. I'd pick him up, I'd put him off the plate next to his sloppy joe, and he'd look at me like, he'd give me this look like, how dare you? And then he'd come over and he'd very carefully, very deliberately make a show of putting his mouse butt on my plate and eating my sloppy joe. And then I'd move him, and then he'd move back. And he knew it was nothing. He knew I wasn't going to do anything to him. He knew that there was no punishment whatsoever. None. So it would be like minutes. It would be the entire meal would be moving the mouse off my plate. He had a great time with it. He loved working me.
I managed to semi-house train a little Jason
Really?
in my apartment. Basically, as soon as I took him out of the cage, I'd take him to the bathroom, put him on the sink, and then I'd wait until he did number 1 and number 2. And then he could come and run around on my bed for like 45 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then I'd take him back. And at the end, you could really tell he understood exactly what he was supposed to do. And if he pooped, he would pick up one of the little poops, come running towards me and show me, saying,
Wow.
look, I've been a good
That's
little
amazing.
boy. And so I had him actually quite good, but then I got him a female, and that sort of, it was all over then, and he didn't care as much. He's a ninja, this little guy.
He is.
He's a little ninja.